Hello, how you doing? This is a video on how to change a flat on a kid's bike. It's a 24-inch and it's on the rear. So what happened to this particular bicycle? The rider's riding along, and here's a typical situation of what happens. The inner tube blows out and rider keeps riding it, and then it gets all tangled up. So we're going to make the repair. So the tools you will need, this is a 3/8 drive ratchet with a 15mm deep socket. And you need an adjustable crescent wrench, and you need a spare tube. So we're going to do this without a repair stand. So I'm going to flip the bike over. I'm going to let it rest on the handlebars and on the seat. And we're going to focus mainly on this section. So, pull the bike closer. Let's see. Okay. This is where the deep socket comes in handy. It fits right over the derailleur guard. So I'm going to loosen each bolt one by one, give a quarter turn, and then another quarter turn, and then now before you take the wheel off, you have to undo the brakes quick release right here. So there's a little dust boot. You can actually see a little dust boot right there, and then push the brake towards the rim, and you're going to pull the noodle back towards you, and the brakes just simply spread apart. Next step, pull the derailleur back. So pull the chain cage of the derailleur back, and the wheel just simply removes right out of the frame, and everything's kind of tangled up here. You have to untangle the inner tube from the brakes. You could actually set the bike aside, and then go ahead and pull the inner tube the rest of the way out of the wheel where this thing really got mangled, and then push the tire back, move the inner tube rest of the way, and set it aside. So when you're at it, take your fingers and run them on the inside of the tire and look for any debris that might have given that inner tube a blowout. So once you feel like there's nothing in the tire, go ahead, and here's a trick. The valve stem hole of the rim, try to make sure that it lines up with the tire rotation, or you could do the size of the tire. If none of this is visible, you can actually use the label. This tire doesn't have a label, so I'm going to make sure that the valve stem is in between the arrow and the size of the tire. So the inner tube, you should actually air up the inner tube just a few pounds so you could actually get it to fit nicely inside the tire. It's a dual head. Install onto the Schrader valve and move the arrow opposite of the valve. And you could inflate maybe a few strokes of the pump, and then remove, slides right out. Next, go ahead, line up, install the valve first to the rim. Next, pull the tire over the inner tube, and then go ahead and with your fingers just push the inner tube into the tire, just the same way I'm doing it right here, just like so. The tube is inside. Next, seat the bead of the tire by going all the way around the rim. With your thumbs, press the tire bead over into the rim trough. Next, make sure that the valve comes straight out. And then, tire pump, same thing. Take the valve, line up the Schrader part is going to be the widest part. Apply that to the tire, pull the lever down, make it so it looks just like this, if you could see that. And oh yeah, this thing's crumbling. Next, inflate to about a couple pounds square inch. Make sure that the tire is seated properly. Make sure there's no bulges, nothing is popping out like the inner tube. Go ahead, inflate to about 40. So here's what it looks like. And with some tire pumps, you can actually adjust this little red needle right here. You could actually line it up where you want this needle to line up. So I'm going to put it right about at 40. And then you could just air it up. And I'm going to put this on the ground, make it easier. And it's not that many strokes. See? There's what you want it to look like. And then remove the valve, the tire pump. And then, so with multi-speed bikes, before I actually did this, you need to actually shift the derailleur into the highest gear. And this is the highest gear. Middle gears, that's your low gear. So you got to shift it into the highest gear. And then you'd simply do that by reaching around, shift the shifter. That puts the derailleur cage to all the way outside of the bike. Next up, take the washers, since the bolt on, push them all the way back to the bolts. Same thing. Spread the washers out, slide them up to the bolt. Next, got to straighten the bike out. So this is easy. All you have to do is line up the chain to the high gear. Once again, got to pull that washer back to the bolt. Pull that washer back, and the wheel is in the bicycle. Hand tighten the bolts, and then you can actually use the ratchet. Like I said earlier, it fits really nicely over the derailleur protector, the guard, the shield. And go to the other side, right here. About a quarter of a turn. Same thing on this side. Quarter of a turn. Same thing. Quarter of a turn. And quarter of a turn. and we're in the ballpark. Okay. But really, we're in the bike shop. I'll go ahead and reconnect the brakes. Push the brake arm up against the wheel and put the brake noodle back into the brake. Let me get a little close-up for you. Okay. So here's what it looks like. You have a little noodle. There's a little noodle right here. It's a 90. And there's also a little a carrier right here. And it actually holds that noodle. Press the brake to the wheel. Pull the noodle back towards you. That releases the brake. Do the opposite. Push the brake towards the wheel. Pull the noodle back. Set it into the center. Seat it. Pull the dust cover back, and pretty much okay. The bicycle is now back to working condition. Air up, and now that's pretty simple. Brake quick release. Shift to the high gear. Loosen each bolt a quarter of a turn about 7 times. The wheel comes right out. Install your tube. Do everything in reverse order as it's removed, and you should have an easy time doing it. If you have a tough time, you can actually take it to a bike shop, and they'll charge about $10 labor. So anyway, good luck with that. I hope you have a good time, and happy trails. Thanks for watching.